Hey everyone, it's Johanna. I hope you guys are all doing good. So today we're going to be analyzing the rhetoric of a TV show. Specifically, we're going to be analyzing the rhetoric of Parks and Recreation's episode titled Sex Education. This episode is the fourth episode from the series' fifth season. So we're going to start off with a little summary or synopsis of the episode. On the left-hand side, you're going to be seeing the characters that I'm mentioning. So, as I said, this episode is the fourth episode from its fifth season, and it's titled Sex Education. In this episode, the main character, Leslie Knope, tries her hand at teaching safe sex after her city of Pawnee, Indiana has an STD outbreak. She then does like a seminar for the elderly to try and teach them safe sex first, but then it's quickly shut down by members of the Society for Family Stability Foundation, as well as her boss, Chris Traeger. And it's revealed to her that her city of Pawnee actually has an abstinence education only bill. Leslie, for the rest of the episode, is then just left to decide whether she's going to start teaching abstinence or go against the law and teach safe sex, because that's what she ultimately thinks is beneficial for her city and citizens. And by the end of the episode, she decides that she is going to try to fight for a new bill to undo the abstinence education only bill. So we're going to be analyzing effective rhetoric today. I do think that the episode did a great job in conveying the audience about its message. So we're going to be analyzing the factors that helped do that. So we're going to analyze genre, audience, rhetorical appeals, specifically just ethos, exigence, purpose, and constraints. So genre is a quick slide. There's not much to it. But basically the genre is a comedy, and although it's a comedy, the themes in this episode are serious. Most of these episodes all have a moral or something to learn by the end of it, and having the show be a comedy, I believe, makes it easier for the audience to understand and take in the message. It makes it feel lighthearted and a little bit more relatable to the viewer, and this helps make the rhetoric strong. There's a scene that I'll be showing you guys in a few slides that I mentioned here. But basically in this scene, Leslie's best friend, her name is Anne, she is a nurse, and her co-workers, they all ask Anne kind of crazy, ridiculous, funny questions about sex, and this being the comedy part of it, and then Anne answers realistically because she is a nurse and puts in her educational input, I guess you can say. So this shows how the show can be a comedy while still being informational and realistic, and giving it a more serious manner to the show. So it has a good balance in the genre between comedy but also keeping that serious message in the end of it. So next we're gonna analyze the audience. I believe that this episode can be directed to those who believe abstinence is better than teaching safe sex. We see in the episode how Leslie is basically just forced to teach abstinence when her colleagues and her know what's better and more effective. This can be seen as the targeted audience because they constantly show and provide evidence as to why abstinence only is not effective. This can also be the targeted audience because they kind of make fun of them in a way. They seem to exaggerate their ideals. There's a scene where Leslie's seen reading like a pamphlet, and this pamphlet just has like crazy things about how people think abstinence is like effective, and then Leslie afterwards just throws some condoms in the air in front of the members of the society. So it's kind of like she's rubbing it in their face. However, they do provide that statistical evidence throughout the episode. So yeah, that would be their audience. Their audience would be people who believe that abstinence is effective. So here we're going to be analyzing the rhetorical appeals. As I said, in this episode, Leslie and her colleagues ask Anne crazy sex questions, and Anne puts in her nurse input, you could say. So we're gonna watch this clip really fast.
Okay, everyone. Great Great news. Lots of old people have chlamydia.
Woo!
Seniors in Pawnee have a lot of time on their hands, and what they're doing with that time is going at it hard, old people style. A lot of them haven't had proper sex education, and as a result, STDs are having a field day. It's amazing what a few old guys can do with a little bit of charm and a lot of crabs. Okay, sex avengers. These old fogies are very set in their ways. They're hopped up on ED medication, and they got nothing to lose, because they're close to death.
Also, seniors can be pretty ornery.
Well, actually, I think it's pronounced horny.
I have an idea. Let's pretend that we're old people, and we can ask Anne our grossest, most perverted sex questions. I'll start. I'm an old lady. Why do I need birth control? I haven't had my monthly since LBJ was president.
Well, with the elderly, we are not so concerned with pregnancy. We're more concerned with disease.
Do pubic hairs get longer the older you got?
I don't think so, no.
Because it's happening to me. What should I do?
Where can I get lube that is healthy to eat?
I ran over my testicles with my jazzy scooter.
I think you're good to go, Nursey. I want to jump on that caboose. Choo-choo!
You should never eat lube. You need to see a doctor immediately, and I'm sorry, sir, but you have to be under 40 to ride this train.
Oh, that's how you do it, kids.
So yeah, that was the clip that I've provided for you guys for Ethos, and this shows Ethos because Leslie and her coworkers are getting her information from a reliable source, who is Anne, and she's a nurse. So she happens to know about the subject, and she's providing them with actual information. And this also gives a look as to why sex ed is important no matter the age. So it's important for everybody to learn. Next, we're going to talk about the episode's exigence or motivation for making this episode. The main motivation for this episode would be the lack of sex ed is a real issue, not just in the US, but everywhere. In an article titled Support for Sex Education and Teen Pregnancy Prevention Programs in the USA, Results from a National Survey of Likely Voters, it states, in a previous study, more than 93% of parents, regardless of political affiliation, felt sex education was very important or somewhat important in public middle schools, and over 97% of parents of both political parties felt sex education was very important or somewhat important to include in public high school. So this helps to show how people see the importance of sex ed, yet some states are still only teaching abstinence. So yeah, basically the exigence of this episode would be that it is a real issue, therefore something needs to be done about it. And that leads us to our purpose. So this episode was most likely made not only to entertain, but also to give more attention to sex education. It's asking for people to take into account the effects of not teaching safe sex, from unwanted pregnancy to the spread of STDs. At the end of the episode, Leslie says, "I'm going to kick all their asses. I'm so fired up. I'm gonna go right now and drink like 1,000 Red Bulls so I can draft a new bill to undo abstinence only." By adding this line, it's subtle commentary towards those who have power to make a change yet don't. Leslie is seen to be using her power in city council for the good of citizens of Pawnee, Indiana. And this ties back to the purpose of the episode, to show how there can be a change in sex education, and this encourages those who can make a change to do so. All right, here are some constraints. I only found one constraint, and it was that Parks and Recreation, their episodes have multiple storylines in one episode. So in this episode, we have two other storylines happening. We have Tom Haverford and Ron Swanson. Tom is dealing with distracted driving, and Ron basically tries to help him. And then April and Ben on the bottom, they are in Washington helping like a mayor or a governor in Washington, and he seems to be a bit robotic and not like a real human. So this can be seen as a constraint because cutting back and forth from the main purpose of the episode to these other scenes can be a bit like choppy, or it can cut off the message a bit too quick. Some may say that the message doesn't get across because this topic isn't the main theme of the episode, because we also have, like I said, Tom and Ron dealing with his distracted driving. So it can seem a bit abrupt to switch storylines, and it can have an effect in the overall rhetoric and effective rhetoric. But I still think that with like their statistical evidence and everything that they provided, the insight that they provided, it's still a pretty effective episode. And that would be the end of my presentation. Here's my works cited. Yeah, I think the overall the episode did have great rhetoric, and the TV show does a great job in showing the importance and giving kind of a light into sex education and what can be done about the issue to prevent further issues for citizens of Pawnee. All right, thank you guys. I hope you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and yeah, bye guys.